something is good, you get attracted to it. Over the past 2 years, precisely, government's policy in terms of government reform and in terms of re-engineering Nigeria to a prosperous nation, and it's eminent from the fact that even our debt portfolio, we've been able to make sure that we're credit worthy in terms of making sure that some of those burdens are unbundled for development of the nation. I guess that when something is good, people tend to be attracted to it, and the indices is such that a lot more is still coming, and Nigerians should be patient with the APC government. We're working around the clock to make sure that succor is brought to each and every one of us, and Nigerians begin to feel the dividends of democracy. And I think it's a good thing. It's a good indices of good governance.
Okay, sir. Looking at it,
The recently concluded primaries in the local government went through a process and a guideline, and the process and the guidelines are well spelled out in the primaries of the party itself and LASEC. Now, I'm sure that if you are conversant with the process, you will see that the chairmanship election was conducted in a free and fair manner, where votes were casted and vote that was casted were counted. And you see the process, it means that was the process for which the candidate emerged. And I think that even on the electoral law, that's the process in which you have the emergence of a candidate. So what you've just reiterated, it's, for me, I think it's more of a fifth column in saying otherwise, because the whole world saw the process, and it's free and fair. So for me, I think that in a situation where you have a laid down guideline and templates to follow, it makes the selection or the process seamless. So I don't think we have any issue.
So finally, on this Lagos State, are you saying governance advisory council are comfortable with the process so far in Lagos State?
The GAC, as the name implies, is advisory. So when you talk about governance, it's a different arm. You have the government itself, which is the executive arm, and you have the legislative arm, and you have the local government itself. So they are purely advisory.
okay, sir. In less than 2 weeks, let's say in 2 weeks' time, 2 to 3 weeks' time, it will be 2 years for this very assembly. And so for you as a lawmaker who have come to represent your people, I want to know what you've done so far, and in the next, as we make a midterm review for the next phase, what do you plan to do?
Well, I guess that for me, this almost 2 years now has been very eventful, and I must say my midterm scorecard is in the public domain for people to see. I've laid on the floor of the House 15 critical bills that are pertinent and important to my constituents, and I have another 4 other ones going through rules and business, and so hopefully we should be looking at 19 bills. So these are bills that affect my constituents, that affect Lagos State, and affect Nigeria. So, and as a lawmaker, I must say that for me, what are the policies we need to put in place for good governance? What are the policies we need to put in place for economic gains that would help in making sure that Nigeria is a country where you can rely on that is self-sustenance? And what are the policies we can, as members, be looking at in terms of security, architecture of this nation? Because that is one critical aspect of our life that is very pertinent now, where we are all yearning for peace. And I must say that the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, GCFR, has been so gracious to making sure that our country is safe again. We're beginning to feel the presence of making sure that things are done and are done accordingly. For me as a lawmaker, the pressure is also there on us to see what we can facilitate to our constituents and all that. And I'm sure that in that area, we've positioned it in three perspectives: short, medium, long term. What are the short things we can do for our constituents in terms of empowerment, and see how the informal sectors work and all that. So we've been able to do a lot of empowerments for our youths and women to make sure that they also can contribute their own quota to the development of the country. And we've looked at other areas, road infrastructures. We have quite a lot of inner roads that we've actually asked the federal government that is gracious enough to help us in making sure that our road networks are adequately safe and secured in terms of providing solar lights in our environments. And where interventions for transformers are, we've also helped in bringing support to our people in that line. So in the area of making sure that we also contribute our own quota in terms of educational benefits, we have also giving free JAM forms to our constituents. The last one we did was over 1,000. So we're also doing such interventions, and the federal government too has been so gracious in providing grants for our traders, for our artisans, and all that. Over 1,000 of them have benefited from that scheme on its own. So as a lawmaker, I'm sure that this past 2 years has been quite eventful, and I look forward to another wonderful 2 years coming, where we'll be able to say that we'll beat our chest that we've done so well.
Okay, sir. In terms of the bills used, and how optimistic that you are that these bills are going to finally get a presidential assent, because we see that the normal legislative procedure, after every legislative session, a bill, if it has to come again, it has to start all over again. So I want to know how optimistic.
Okay, so our own perception is, first of all, what is the needs assessment of my constituents in terms of what are those needs that we can use law and policies and bills to categorize. First of all, we have Federal Medical Center, Orile. This is part of the assessment we did during the electioneering period, the need to have a medical center in Orile, and it has gone through consideration now. It's gone through the first, second reading, and committee consideration. So we're hoping that it will be listed for third reading. So that's Federal Medical Center Orile. Then also Federal College of Education, Ijesha, has also gone through consideration. So we're hoping that it goes through third reading and that it will progress accordingly. So we also have the flood insurance bill, which will determine pre-flood and post-flood forecast and make sure that there are compensations for victims as are well due. We have the that's gone through second reading. We have the mining public-private partnership. I mean, it's an economic bill to enhance our solid minerals resource in Nigeria, so that would have self-sufficiency where private sectors can come in and probably inject funds to this solid mineral industry to make sure that we can get development and we can start tapping into our foreign exchange and making sure Nigeria is wealthy again.
Okay, finally for me, sir, as we look for seeing in the National Assembly, which you feel needs to be corrected as we move forward in advancing our democracy?
I think life itself is a challenge. I mean, every day you wake up, you're faced with new things, you're faced with new directions. I mean, I think for me, challenges or challenge makes us who we are. So wherever you find it, your ability to solve that challenge makes you who you are. So for me, I think we're in a process of re-engineering what is called Nigeria. In the House, we have a wonderful speaker who has been so gracious, and he's a listening speaker who attends to all issues that pertains to lawmaking and policies. And so, for me, I think that in the next 2 years, would have robust debates, we would have positions where we want to make sure that the security architecture of Nigeria improves, and want to see where we have sustainability in the agricultural sector, and see how we can leverage both locally and internationally, and putting Nigeria back into the world map of a wealthy nation.
Honorable, you talked about a lot of. In what way do you think the federal government could rejig some of these initiatives or activities they are doing in order to ensure that people are well secured?
Well, thank you. I'm sure the narrative is usually that the legislative and the executive is two parallel lines that they say. But I must tell you that in this 10th assembly, the relationship between the executive and the legislature is very cordial. And you see, and that's why you've seen the level of developments that have gone through this past 2 years, and the synergy of a seamless process. Look, we need to, where Nigeria is almost, for me, Nigeria is like a construction site, and we need to place it on almost an emergency, making sure that everything works round the clock. I mean, if some countries are doing 24 hours and we're still doing 8-9 hours, there's a lot of catch-ups to be done. So seamlessly, the legislative arm and the executive must work in consonance with the speed of light to make sure that things begin to work assiduously for this country. So you see the passion in which this is done between the legislator and the executive, and I believe that there's still more of that relationship. I mean, I know that people will say, well, why should it be like that? Because of the pertinent situations we find ourselves now. We cannot afford to be on different perception. So for me, I think it's welcome. We'll give our best. We would always be there for the executive 24/7. So Nigeria is ours. We don't have anywhere to go. We're proudly Nigerian. So we'll sworn to an allegiance to save this country and to make sure that this country is great.
Any securities?
On security, the security architecture of this country is our responsibility. First of all, at the local level, what level of intelligence gathering have we been able to do within ourselves? Because you find out that if you look at the trend, it's an internal thing. And for us, as a nation, we should be our brother's keeper, not us trying to do otherwise. So until we begin to love each other and see, look, why must I even hurt the second person? But that pretext, well, for me, maybe we need to go back to the time when maybe mothers would have their babies suck their breasts for 2 years. Then maybe we'll begin to understand what it means to love each other and not kill each other. Because if we don't go back to that premise of saying that maybe we should recommend, maybe there should be a law baby friendly for 2 years so that we can begin to appreciate what is love. Because if we take that out, the rest is history. So whatever it is, I believe is local. Most of the killing are local, and it's for certain uninduced benefits. And if you go deep to it, you find out that for one thing or the other, hypothetical, maybe land, maybe this. I'm just, but for me, let's go back to baby friendly. The ones that are coming up now, maybe we'll do a bill 2 years so that they'll appreciate what it is to love one another. If we imbibe that on us, we'll defend Nigeria.
Sir, do you wish to say anything you want to say? Just anything from your heart.
To your constituents.
To your constituents.
Well,
anything.
Today is Children's Day. I want to say Happy Children's Day for all the children in my constituents in Lagos State, in Nigeria, and in the whole world. The children are the future of this nation. We must teach them, we must love them, we must encourage them. God bless Nigeria.
Honorable, just one development closer to the people.
Like a regional development.
Regional development. So in what way do you think these commissions should fast track development, especially in the country?
Okay, for me, it's like decentralization, whereby you look at things from your local hub. Maybe the needs for Southwest is different from the need of Northwest. Do you understand? Categorization. So they need to do a more of an assessment of the needs assessment that is well detailed in 3 perspectives. I always lean on these 3 perspectives. What's the short-term goal? What's the medium term and what's the long term? The short term is to annex those things and start building it up for that development to happen. Then we'll look at long term. In the long term, we will all be beneficiaries to these regional development hubs, because they will now come